Hi, my name is Melissa DePloy. I'm the director for the prior learning assessment programs for the Vermont State Colleges, and I'm based at CCV. Today what I'm going to do is go over a little bit about CCV, about the prior learning assessment options, and then talk about some next steps from this point. So in the packet that you have, as I said, I'm not going to go over this word for word. Really present some of the, there's somebody else, present some of the options that are available. I said hello. Hello? Hello? Can you see us?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you, though.
Yeah,
Polycom working?
Is the Polycom working? We're having trouble connecting. This is United Counseling Service, by the way.
Should be working.
Oh, we just.
Oh, there we are.
Okay.
All right, you're in.
Thank you. Now, do you recommend me keeping this on?
They're in the very corner. Okay. Well, what I may do, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I just did some introductions. We have, 6 people here in Barrie, in South Barrie, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Melissa DePloy. I direct the prior learning assessment programs for the Vermont State Colleges system, and I'm based at CCV. Today, what I'm going to talk about is a little bit of an overview about CCV and kind of the conversations that we've been having and why we're having those conversations. We're going to talk about the prior learning assessment options that are available. In this packet that I presented to you, I've got a packet of everything that we do in prior learning assessment, and that's because students actually use a little bit of all the options when they're trying to demonstrate their learning. So I'll go through those in a little bit more detail, and then we'll talk about some next steps, and then I think I've saved plenty of time for questions, and then I can take questions after. So can you still hear us at UCS?
They can hear you, but you can't hear them.
I don't know.
Yeah, if I'm right, they can hear us, but we can't hear them.
Oh, I think that's why. We can actually see them. Are they trying to call in on the?
Oh yeah, we've got somebody. Okay.
Now you're good, right?
Now we're good.
But I hear a phone ringing.
So Sean thinks it.
Hi.
Here,
I think we're good.
you're in charge now.
Okay.
How's Jason doing?
Sorry.
Oh,
go
he's
for
doing
it.
good. Better? Still
Can
sore.
you hear us and see us?
Sore and got a rash. Yeah.
This isn't muted, right? See, I know what they're trying to call. Do you hear it? Can you hear us and can you see us?
We can see you and we can hear you now.
Perfect. Okay, great. Okay, so one more time. My name is Melissa DePloy. I direct the prior learning assessment programs at the Vermont State Colleges system. I'm based at CCV, and today what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to do a little bit of an overview of CCV. You guys have all heard this. I'm going to talk about the prior learning assessment options, and then we'll talk about some next steps from this point. So CCV, we were founded in 1970, so we've been around for a while, and we are part of the Vermont State Colleges system that includes Linden and Johnson, soon to be Northern Vermont University, Castleton University, and Vermont Technical College. So we're all part of the same system. We share the same database, which means that students transfer between us pretty easily. We are Vermont's second largest college. Every year we serve about 10,000 students at CCV. So we have locations all over the state. We offer about 1,000 courses per semester. We have a variety of degree programs. We grant 2-year degrees or associate degrees. We also have certificate programs, and the thing I think that resonates with people who are working in a workplace setting is that over 80% of our students are part-time. So the way that most students take classes at CCV is that they're working their full-time job and they take a class in addition to their full-time work. So you'll find that the way CCV structures its classes and the way we offer our classes is really to allow people to fit college into their life, because we know it's one of the things in their lives, not the only thing. So students choose CCV because we have an open admissions process. That means anybody who applies to CCV can go to CCV. So our application, I think it says on the website, it's an 8-minute application. It's informational only. There are no essays that you need to submit or anything like that. You don't have to submit your SAT scores at the outset, all that kind of stuff. That stuff is not a part of our admissions process. So it's simply a form that you fill out online. A lot of students attend because it's the least expensive college in Vermont. Our tuition is the lowest in Vermont, so many students start with CCV to figure out what it is that they want to study before going on. Flexibility allows students to be full or part-time. Very few of our students are full-time. Our full-time students tend to be the traditional 18 to 21-year-olds who are attending school. Students are able to earn a degree and take that and transfer. So our positioning within the Vermont State Colleges system allows students to move around pretty easily. And then the other thing that I think resonates with people who are out working is that our faculty are all part-time faculty. That means that if you are taking an accounting course at CCV, your faculty member is an accountant, they're a CPA, they are out doing that work, and then so when they are teaching it in a classroom, it means that they know real-world application for what they're teaching, which I think really adults respond well to that because they know how it can apply to their work, because when adults are taking classes, they want to know how it applies to their work. So those are some of the things, reasons why students choose CCV. We're all over the place, so students take classes at any of the CCV centers, or they can take classes at our online location, the Center for Online Learning. So our closest one to here is CCV Montpelier. There may be, some of you are saying, what, you're in Cabot, so there might be a St. J's up there. I mean, so depending on where you live and where you work and where you're working, there's a CCV center that's probably close to you and usually within 25 miles of you. So students combine taking their courses, so you pick a location based on where you want to receive services, where you want to get academic advising, where you'd like to meet with a financial aid counselor to ask questions, that kind of stuff, where you want to go to a learning center if you have a paper due, that you can go to that CCV location. But we also offer all of that stuff online, so you can get those services online as well if it's not convenient for you to get to a CCV academic center. And students can mix and match. Just because they're getting academic advising at CCV Montpelier doesn't mean they can't take a hybrid course in Winooski. It doesn't mean they can't take an online course. They can do all of those things. And I'm starting with some degree program information because most of the students who go through our prior learning options are what their goal is to complete a degree. So CCV has academic programs in a whole host of degree areas. Our newest one is the Design and Media Studies, which is a new configuration for what used to be our graphic design program. So that's kind of our newest. STEM Studies is new, ish. What's the other one that's new? Environmental Science is new-ish. But we also have all the standards. The accounting, administrative management has been very popular with students who are taking our portfolio courses, because a lot of those courses are directly transferable to skills that you would acquire working in an office setting, doing paperwork, doing maybe some light accounting, that kind of stuff, that those are many things that students are able to connect to their work. The one that most students who come through our portfolio classes go with is our liberal studies program. That is a program where it allows students to kind of bring in a big chunk of credits, whether it's transfer credits from an institution that you've attended in the past, with some of your portfolio credits, that allows you to kind of plunk them all into one degree program and get to a degree quickly. So liberal studies is our most popular option for students in our portfolio courses. We also offer a host of certificates. So if anyone's working in kind of medical billing and coding, that might be something that's appropriate. If some of you are doing kind of offshoot work in childcare, that might be appropriate. So some of those certificates and degree programs can also kind of frame how you define your learning and how you describe your learning. All degree programs have a few different requirements within them. So they'll have things like general education courses, so writing, math, science, communication, all that kind of stuff. You're going to have that for any degree program. So those are not writing, math, science are not typical courses that are requested through portfolio, but those are things that you might still have to do as part of your path to a degree. Program concentration courses, that's where students kind of plug in what it is they're studying. So that's when you're taking an administrative management program, you would be putting all of your courses that are related to that program in there. An accounting program, all of your accounting courses would be in there, that kind of thing. We also offer developmental courses to help skills building. So if you're feeling like you're rusty in math or feeling like you're rusty in writing, we offer courses to help you get ready for that as well. So that was CCV in a 7-minute nutshell. So I think I covered a lot of it. But please, if you have questions, let me know. And I talk about CCV because most of the students who get started with prior learning assessment, their goal is to complete an associate's degree with CCV, although we do have a fair amount of students who come in with an associate's degree and use our prior learning assessment to kind of bridge the gap to a bachelor's degree. So we definitely have either of those things. So prior learning assessment has existed for a very long time at the Vermont State Colleges, and so CCV and the VSC, we were at the table when prior learning assessment was born back in the mid-1970s, and so we have a long history with prior learning assessment. At that point, the one thing that we developed was what is called the Portfolio Preparation Program, and it's now known as APL, or our Assessment of Prior Learning Program. And since spring of 1976, when the first portfolios were evaluated, over 7,000 Vermonters have gone through this process of describing and documenting their learning, and then having it evaluated by faculty who award credits. So we're very close to that 8,000 number, and when you think about Vermont only having about 600,000 people, that's not just adults. So we touch a lot of people out there in our communities who have used APL as a stepping stone to move on to whatever their academic goals are. So, the program, we offer assessment of prior learning, and our new mini version of it, we offer those programs statewide. So they are weekly courses that are offered at Community College of Vermont centers, and we have offered them off-site at workplace settings so that employees can take that with a group of their colleagues at a workplace. So prior learning assessment, since that time back in the early mid-1970s, we have our options have expanded, and we now offer some other more standard options for students, because what we found was that portfolio preparation met the needs of a lot of students for a lot of things, but there were some things that could be better served by taking a test or by specifically challenging just one course. So what we have for our options include standardized exams. We offer CLEP exams that are put out by the same people that put out SATs, so College Board prepares those. And we offer DSST exams, which are provided by Dante's, and those are 2-hour exams where students can get anywhere from 3 to 12 credits for exams. It's $135 for a DSST exam or $140 for a CLEP exam. When you think about an average course costing around $800, that's pretty good value, and the time savings, rather than sitting in a classroom for 3 hours for 15 weeks, you got a 2-hour time chunk, you're done, you know your credits at the end of that time. So it saves a lot of time for students as well. So that's one option. That's an option that a lot of students kind of partner with taking portfolio. Say they're a math whiz, and it's easier to demonstrate math learning through a test than it is through writing an essay and writing a description. So some students will choose to take one of the standardized exams to demonstrate their math learning. Some students will also, one of our popular options through that is the foreign language options. So French, Spanish, and German, you can get between 3 and 12 credits for $140 exam. So if you know one of those languages, that's a great way to very quickly transcript some learning. There's a popular writing exam that a lot of students who come through APL will do as well for the CLEM exam, because there's a 6-credit English exam that gets English Comp 1 and English Comp 2. So again, some great savings, and sometimes it's easier to just take that 2-hour test and get those credits documented than it is to spend time in your, get my portfolio in the car. Yeah. Than it is to than it is to put it into a portfolio. Course challenges are our next option. So standardized exams, they take about 2 hours, but you have to be a pretty good test taker to take those. They're standardized exams, so there's no kind of like wiggle room with them. They're like taking the SATs, so it's multiple choice questions, it's computerized, it's kind of that scenario. Course challenges are kind of in-between option for us. So for course challenges, what happens is a student and an advisor talk, and they figure out that a student has one particular course that they already know. They don't think they need to take it. It's a requirement for their degree program or not. It's a requirement for something else. They can challenge a course, and what happens is I hire a faculty member to work with that student to measure their learning in that particular course. So it might be that that based on your work, you think you have the equivalent learning for an intro to psychology class. And so what you could do is then is meet with a faculty member, and they would figure out different ways to assess your learning. So they might give you a test. That might be one of the things, but they might also have you do a presentation. They might have you write a reflection paper. They might have you do a research paper. But they usually do 2 or 3 of those things. Or the other thing that they do is an interview with the student to kind of figure out where they acquired the learning, and that helps them kind of devise how they're going to measure their learning. That is the equivalent of a 3-credit class for whatever the cost of 1 credit of tuition at CCB happens to be. For this year, that's $261. So it's a pretty cost-effective option if you know one particular course. As far as time frame, students have up to 60 days to demonstrate their learning. So it's a little bit faster than a course that would take 3-4 months. So 60 days. I have had students who complete a course challenge in as short as a couple of weeks. So it really kind of depends on your pacing and how quickly you want to demonstrate that learning. So those are the fast options that we offer, and they're kind of tag-ons to the portfolio options. So I'll mention that our portfolio course options, we have 2 options now. Students would only do one of those options. They wouldn't do both of those things, since it's kind of the same thing, but just in a different format. So our most popular option is the Assessment of Prior Learning course, and that's the original one that we started offering back in the mid-1970s. That's where students are documenting their learning in there are no restrictions on how many credits they are requesting in that portfolio process, and there are no restrictions on the curricular areas. Focused portfolio development is a mini version of that. Assessment of prior learning is a 3-credit option. It takes place over a 15-week semester. Focused portfolio is a mini version. It's a 1 credit, so it takes place over a 5 weeks of work weeks, and then on the 6th week they turn in their portfolio. In focused portfolio, there are some restrictions. In focused portfolio, the restrictions are that you can only request credits up to 16 credits in a single portfolio, and they have to all be in the same curricular area. So it's a very focused portfolio. So they're all about the same thing. So the portfolio options, we offer them all over the state. APL, we offer in that 15-week format. The way we offer courses is that they tend to be in an evening time slot or a Saturday time slot. We also now have a fully online option. And so that really is tailored because most of the people taking APL are working. So that's what works for these classes. We offer in Montpelier and Winooski, we offer APL every semester, every fall, spring semester. And our focused class, we offer that at locations around the state. That one's been consistently running online. So the difference is, I'm going to kind of deviate a little bit from the presentation to share. So APL is really targeted at people who have many years, probably 5 or more, at least 5 or more years in a workplace setting, who have multiple areas that they'd like to document. So if you sit down with an advisor and you look at a degree plan and you start ticking off all the things that you could do, that you already know how to do, you'll be able to determine if APL is a good fit for you. If your learning is all in one kind of area, so it's all in social work, or it's all in business, or it's all in childcare, or it's all in education, or criminal justice, or something like that, then a focused portfolio might make sense for you. But that's a very targeted approach. So that would be if you had like 5 or fewer classes that you were really targeting with a focused portfolio. In both of these courses, what happens is your faculty member isn't a specialist in your field. They are specialists in helping you document your portfolio and produce that portfolio. So they are helping you throughout the semester, step by step. It's a building process. So every week, the first week you don't just like crank out your portfolio. Every week we're adding on, and so over the course of the semester, you're adding on a component to your portfolio to get to the finished product. So your faculty members are key in kind of guiding you through that process. And whether that's online or in person, your faculty member is there kind of giving you feedback along the way. There's a lot of individualized attention given in this class. Usually one of the weeks, at least one of the weeks, sometimes 2 of the weeks, instead of full class time, there's individual appointments with the faculty member who's giving you advice about your portfolio and helping you find some direction on where you're going with your portfolio. So there are definitely some check-in points that we build in throughout the semester. The whole idea with portfolio documentation is that we understand that learning can be gained in a lot of different ways outside of a college classroom. So that's where portfolio assessment was born from. So it could be through your work. Many students document what they've learned through their work. It could be from volunteering in your community, sitting on a board, leading a Girl Scout troop, all those kinds of things. It could be in the military. So some military credits already have credits assigned and already evaluated, but there's some military training that doesn't have credits assigned. So some of those things could be documented through portfolio or self-study. So if you have been learning on lynda.com or Khan Academy, or you do Civil War reenactments on the weekends, any of those things could be specialty areas where you've kind of, based on your self-study, you've learned a lot about a certain topic to the point where it's college level. So that's something that we acknowledge, and that's really the point of this. In the class, so students in the class, the first 5 to 8 weeks of the class, you're really you're really going through the process of describing your learning and writing up your learning in your own words. Then you write an essay about that learning path, and you're working with an advisor basically to outline a degree plan that you are so that you can figure out how to fit your goals in. And those degree plans might be with a CCV advisor. They might be with an advisor from another institution. So we do have, at the CCV centers, not only do we have CCV advising, but we have advisors from the Johnson State College External Degree Program, their distance learning program. So students can get advising for bachelor's degree programs at CCV as well. So you're doing that in the class, you're building your portfolio, and then toward the end of the semester, what students are doing is they are collecting documentation from people in the form of letters. So students need to get letters from individuals who have expertise in the field. So that might be they have a degree in the field, they've worked in the field a long time, they've supervised people who have degrees in the field, that kind of thing. So in order to award credits through a portfolio, someone needs to vouch for your learning. So you spend the first part of the semester describing that learning. The second part of the semester, you are looking for people, and there's a whole exercise. I actually teach a 2-hour lesson plan on this week 5 of each semester for students to help them start to brainstorm about who their documenters might be, what they use for documentation. We provide a template, so it's not like just write me a recommendation letter. There are 7 specific things that we look for in every documentation letter. Your documenters get that template. They get an overview letter explaining the process, and they get a bulleted list of the 7 things we're looking for as well. So when you do ask for people to document for you, there's a lot of support for that. So know that. And when you have an organization that's supporting you, that also kind of carries through the organization, especially if you're asking for learning that you can document through your work here. That knowing that the leadership, the HR team is supportive of this process can really can help as well. So I heard somebody say that they'd had hours of training, lots of trainings. So one of the things is those letters have to be, the letters must be there in order to award credits, but you can use those, like you probably have a report of HR training, like trainings from your HR department, all the things that you've done in your professional development. If you've done anything in education or childcare, they give you a certificate for everything you do. So those things are all what we consider to be secondary documentation. Since they weren't credit-bearing standalone as they were when they were delivered, what you'll want to do is kind of show how you took that learning, applied it in your work, and brought it to the college level. So you can include those HR reports, you can include your professional development lists or certificates as secondary documentation. But those things aren't credit on their own, so you need to then have applied it in a workplace setting in order to get credit for it, college credit for it. So I want to mention that because a lot of students talk about this process as being, I get credit for my experience. And it's not just seat time in your job. So it's really about the things that you've learned in your work. So in the first few weeks, your instructor is reprogramming you to think about not what you did, what you learned by doing it. So it takes a mind shift. So sometimes it's even weeks 4 and 3, 4, even 5, where students are still kind of reprogramming and undoing kind of the thinking about what they did to think about what they learned by doing those things. So this process is about awarding credit for that learning. That's the part that's college level. You don't get college credit just for doing a job for a number of years. It's really about what you learned by doing that job. So that's where the one-for-one kind of how you can equate it to a college course comes in. So in the process, students enroll in the class, in one of the portfolio classes. They go through the process, they're guided through the process. At the end of the semester, at the end of the course, they turn in their perfect portfolio, which my example is sitting in the trunk of my car. So they turn in the perfect portfolio to their instructor at the end of the course. Then those portfolios come to my office, and I hire the faculty to evaluate all of those portfolios. So all of the credits get evaluated by faculty. So it's not me making a decision about those credits. I find qualified faculty from throughout the state. So not even just CCV or Vermont State Colleges. We have faculty from Norwich, Champlain, UVM, Goddard, where else? There's got to be some others. I'm not thinking of them right now. But think big. I did just recently have to go out of state because a student requested some credits that weren't offered at a college in the state. So I got a faculty member from another state to evaluate some portfolio credits. So that is part of the process, is finding faculty who are qualified to evaluate your portfolios. So if you have this specialty area, I may need to go out of state to find somebody who can evaluate it. At the end of the evaluation, we prepare a transcript for you, and those are transfer credits. You can take them with you wherever you go. My program, the Vermont State College's Prior Learning Assessment Office, we don't award degrees, so you do need to transfer those credits someplace. Our transcripts are free. You just send us you don't just send us a note. You send us a form with your signature, and we'll send you your transcripts to whatever institutions you'd like to apply them to. So that's what you do with those credits at the end, is you actually transfer them toward a degree at whatever institution you'd like to attend. During the class, we encourage you to have conversations with those institutions that you're thinking about. And usually one night during the class, we do something called College Night, where a couple of advisors from various institutions come in and talk about programs at their institution. Yes?
What if you've already started a bachelor's degree program through the Johnson External Degree Program? Is it still, like you said, like to transfer the degrees, the credits over, can you still apply this and use it?
Yeah. So, I mean, what you would want to do is to connect with your Johnson State College advisor, so whoever your advisor is, to figure out what you have left to complete your degree and figure out if some of those items are things that you already have prior learning for.
Okay.
If you have a lot of things, like more than 15, 16 credits, then APL might be a good option for you. If they are all in one category, all in one curricular area, you could go through a focused portfolio. If there are only like 2 things that you think you know, you could do a course challenge, or you could do an exam.
Cool.
So there are different options. I have had students take focused portfolio development just asking for 3 credits as well. So sometimes students, that is the easiest way for them to be able to demonstrate their learning. It's not necessarily the most cost-effective way, but sometimes it's the easiest way for them to be able to demonstrate that learning. So students do a whole variety of things. I didn't say, the average request in APL is 40 credits, and students on average receive 75% of those requests. So the average award package is 30 credits. So it's a cost savings of about $6,000 tuition for tuition. So it's a good savings, and I think it's an even bigger savings on the thing I often hear from adults who are working is that it's really about the time. Like, I can't do a full-time year, and if I do part-time, it's going to take me years. So when you think about 30 credits in one semester is major. So it really moves you much closer to your end goal. So that's where a lot of students find their savings. In focused portfolio development, the average request is 13 credits, and the average award is 12 credits. So not everyone requests that 16 credits, but they do get about 90% of what they ask for in focused portfolio development. So because, again, it's very focused, their documentaries often can document for many of those different areas in that same portfolio. It can be a pretty efficient process for students.
What is the most credits anybody's ever received from that?
It's right around the 120 mark.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've worked here for 20 years, so like I'm just in my head, I'm like,
Can I do it? I'm only 18 credits away from a bachelor's degree through the Johnson External Degree Program.
Yep.
So,
Are there things that you have left to do that you think you already know?
oh yeah. And I'm in a pretty liberal, I'm doing like their liberal studies program
Yeah.
in whatever I want it to be.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I could just document, the
Yeah.
16 credits, I could practically graduate with that.
Right. Absolutely. So, I mean, one of the things to keep in mind if you're that close to a degree program, and we've got at least 2 EDPs in here, that making sure that you're meeting their residency requirements. So that 30 credit residency requirement is usually the sticking point. So make sure you've already got your 30 credit, I think it's 30 credits with them that you have to do. Certain number of those have to be upper division credits. I have had students who go through and very selectively target some courses. Some of the credits have been received by other institutions as upper division credits through portfolio. So it's really by department, but it is possible. So that's something that might help you. I know there's you have to have 39 upper division credits, things like that are very specific to that program.
Okay.
But talking to your advisor, do you get advising at CCV Montpelier?
Yeah.
Or yes?
Yeah, and I haven't been with for 2 years. I've been with John for 2 years. So
Okay.
my advisor since has retired.
Okay.
I just started it. So
Okay.
I'm in my first semester of it.
Okay. Connecting with your advisors and letting them know that there's an opportunity through your workplace and you're trying to figure out if that makes sense for you is probably a good conversation to have sometime soon. So that you know if we end up doing something for the spring, so that you know kind of at the outset, because our CCV spring catalog goes live at the end of this week. Yeah, this week.
Oh, wow.
And registration starts next week. Right? Yeah, next week's November.
That's true.
You're gonna forget about that. Okay. There's a few more things. So I talked a little bit. Students tend to go on right away to continue taking classes. So APL gives them some momentum, and they often are able to kind of carry through and finish their degree from there. So 82% of the students who take our APL class go on to complete a college degree. And I will say that many more of them, 4 times more of them, actually complete their degree. So, so that thing, I think that is helpful for adults to think about, you know, okay, will I make it to the end? Yeah, students do it, and this really helps them get there. So, and if you're, so we've got some CCV interest, EDP interest, 10% of CCV graduates have APL, and it's anywhere between 20 to 25% of EDP graduates each year have APL in their background. So, and those numbers go up if you start thinking about course challenges and CLEP exams and those other pieces that we offer as well. So we are thinking that employees, you guys as employees, have lots of years of experience that you could be documenting through this process. And so that's something that can really supplement your work experience in order to complete a degree. There may be some tuition benefits. I think that there's discussion about a payroll deduction eventually, maybe.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is, why we have people dialing in, is we are working with the other designated agencies, thinking that each agency themselves may not have enough interest to run a class, but maybe we can get people from across the state together and run a class. So we've got a bunch of people doing similar work, which I think then is helpful when developing the actual portfolio, because you can kind of bounce stuff off of each other. So as it relates to tuition benefits, if the system, if there's enough interest, and we as a whole can kind of purchase a class versus individuals going in and registering themselves, there's a cost savings.
Yep.
So that's kind of, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like, and that may look different depending on the agency and how that's handled, but that's one of those things that we're hoping to be able to pass along, assuming we've got the interest and we can get everybody together to run a class.
Cool.
And what I will say is that if we don't end up with enough at a particular center, or if it's more convenient for you to take the class at an existing CCV center that's closer to your home or closer to your work or something like that, that statewide distribution of CCV mirrors the 10 partners in the Vermont Care Partners. So there are CCV locations nearby for all of those locations. And I'll plug in and say that because I didn't say this yet, we encourage students when they're taking a portfolio class to take it by itself so that they can focus on getting as many credits as possible. Focus portfolio, there's a little bit more flexibility on that because it's a 1-credit course, but it's a full course for those like 6 weeks that you're working on it. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. So we encourage students to take it by itself, but there are also grant opportunities for students to apply for. So if you have an organization that that can help fund or is helping to do some payroll deductions or something like that, that's great. If you don't have that option, that federal funding covers this. It doesn't cover loans for students, but it could be their VSAC produces these non-degree grants that students have to use non-degree grants to help pay for this course. It actually covers the whole course if you're eligible for the full amount. So something to think about. So I've heard some of your conversations as we've been going. So we really target APL students being employees with 3 to 5 years of experience, either with no college credit, with some college credit already, with an associate's degree already, that students with any kind of range of background with credits can benefit from this. Really the target that we're usually looking at for APL is something more than 3 to 5 years of experience in a professional setting. Focus portfolio, we say that's more like 2 to 5 years that you can really target some of that learning in that format. And it sounds like there may be some parameters. You may set up some parameters around other things who might benefit and all that kind of stuff. We have this new tool on our website if you want to kind of experiment a little bit with what prior learning assessment looks like and some of the different options. So this link actually, and I'm going to share this presentation with Kelly so that she can send it out to everyone who's attended. That this link allows you to kind of think about what types of options might align with your interests. Some of the questions are like, would you like to write about your learning? If you hate writing, APL and focused portfolio development might not be a good fit because there's a fair amount of writing. If you can get through the writing, it's just not your favorite thing, that's a different thing. If you hate taking tests, you're probably not going to want to take a standardized exams. So there's kind of things like that the questionnaire asks you. And then there's an even more detailed version of this online tool that allows, it's called the Pla Accelerator, that allows you to look at the courses, and the programs individually and kind of break down your learning to see where your learning aligns. If we are able to get to it's basically 12 students is where it starts to be a cost savings for the organization. So Vermont students taking APL, paying on their own, it's $1,158. So that's the cost for the course tuition, the $75 administrative fee, and there's a portfolio evaluation fee. That's what I use to pay the faculty to evaluate your portfolio at the end. If we can break it down and get 12 to 15 students, either here in this building or through the network, then it can drop it by $73 a student all the way down to $290 of savings for a student. So it could go as low as $867 for a student to take APL. So that just increases your cost savings. For the average student saves about $6,000, so $6,000 plus $290. So I will say if we end up with fewer than 12, that it may make sense to enroll in already scheduled sections that are around the state. I will say the Montpelier section that's scheduled already, it doesn't go live yet, but I know it's going to be on Wednesday nights from 5:45 to 8:30. So that is an option as well. So next steps would be to select a course offering. Either it's going to be a section that we might offer here through the teleconference network, or by using one of the CCV existing sections, which the whole schedule goes live on Friday on our website. So advising is important, making sure you connect with an advisor. Advisors are actually the only ones who can sign you up for portfolio classes. So I can answer particular questions about how it might fit for you and if it's a good option for you, but an advisor is the one who actually will place you in the course and make sure that you have the English requirements that you need. I will say that we do encourage students, I don't think I said this yet, we encourage students to feel pretty confident with their writing going into this class because there's a fair amount of writing involved. The essay that you write in APL is 8 to 12 pages. So if you've been, writing, if you're writing on a regular basis in your work, you may be fine. If you're nervous about your writing, sometimes it makes sense to take like an English composition before you take APL. The thing that I usually tell students is that I don't want your writing to get in the way of expressing your learning. So it's really when you get in the class, I want pedal to the metal. I want you to be able to document as much learning as possible. If the writing is a struggle for you, that's going to get in your way. It might make sense to prepare with some writing coursework ahead of time. So something to keep in mind. Application and assessments, depending on which option we go with, there are different applications. There's a shorter application if we do the option through the network. So I'll say hold off on applying quite yet unless you're already in the system. And once we know where we're headed, we'll be able to let you know which application to fill out. I said that CCV is open admissions. Everyone can come in. CCV does have you take standardized assessments when you come in. So if you haven't taken a college writing course or a college math course before, CCV will have you do that as part of your admissions process. It's not going to hold you back from being admitted to CCV. We use that information to help inform you about kind of where your strengths and weaknesses are and where you might want to take some courses as you're kind of embarking on this. The resources for you, even if we do offer a class here on site, you'll still be able to use the CCV Academic Center for your academic advising, for meeting with financial aid if you need some financial aid support to help you pay for the class. There are learning centers there where you can go in with your essay and say, can I sit down with a mentor and talk about my rough draft or something like that. We also have an online version of that called e-tutoring. So there are options if your writing is okay, but you know you definitely need someone else to read it, which almost everyone does. I need it. Everybody needs it. That e-tutoring is another way that you can submit your paper to somebody to be able to get a second opinion before you turn in that final draft. And then my office supports you in the process. We handle all the paperwork in the background as you're progressing through the semester. All of your documentation letters actually come to our office first, where we verify that it's an authentic document and then get it back to you. So it's a whole process. You'll hear throughout any of our portfolio courses, the motto is to trust the process. So I bet it was a very bumpy process back in 1976. Now it is a well-tuned machine. We know what needs to happen every week. All the sections across the state are doing the same thing in the same week. We get to the same end result at the same time. So we know it works, and we know that students are benefiting immensely from these credit awards because they're then going on to great things. So I would say for next steps, if you have questions about these courses and want to talk to somebody a little bit more, Kelly Young is the academic coordinator who works with me out of the Montpelier Center. So she is able to answer questions. She actually ends up being the advisor for a lot of EDP students who are there at Montpelier, and she is the advisor for a lot of the APL students. So she may end up being your academic advisor. And then my contact information, I have offices in Winooski and here in Montpelier and close by in Montpelier, so you can reach me at that contact information. That gets me wherever I am. That is what I wanted to cover in the canned part of it. How did I do on time? Oh, man. Okay, so I've got like 5-10 minutes for questions. So if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer questions. It was a lot of information, I know. Yeah?
If you don't have 3 years of work experience, do you think it's even worth going about trying to get involved in this program?
It depends.
Okay.
So it depends on the things that you're trying to document. It depends on the requirements that you're trying to fulfill. It depends on a lot of things.
Okay.
We've had students as young as 21 in this class come through and get a bundle of credits. I've seen a lot of students in the emergency management field, like emergency services, come through because you can, at a very young age, start acquiring certifications and get your EMT and that kind of thing. So I know it's not that it's absolutely possible. It depends on what type of learning you've had and how you've been applying it. So that's definitely a question. You have my contact information. You can reach out to me and give me a call, and I'm happy to kind of talk through your specific situation to figure out what makes the most sense.
Okay.
You're also going to want to talk to your advisor to see what they recommend. A lot of the EDP advisors are very familiar with our program and actually are faculty evaluators for student portfolios. So a lot of them are very connected and will know some of these questions as you're asking them.
Okay.
So they're good people to ask as well. Other questions?
I have a question for
Yeah.
Kelly. Kelly, ed benefits, does that apply to us if, say, we had to pay for that whole course?
What we were talking about doing here at the agency is a payroll deduction. So kind of taking care of it and then having staff pay it back over the course of the semester.
So would we apply for ed benefits though at the end of not for this?
No, we'd be talking about handling it separately.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You'd also mentioned, I don't know if this...
Yeah, it's just,
Oh, okay.
we can talk
Okay.
a little bit more specific about the agency.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the different agencies are thinking about different
Doing
ways
things
to
differently.
support their employees.
Yes,
So it may vary
correct.
among those programs. Other questions? Is there a question? I think there's somebody off screen. We see your hands, but we can't see you. Do you have questions at your other center?
No, I think so. We're all set.
Okay. How many people are attending there? Is it just one?
No, it's 2 of us.
2 of you?
Yep.
Great. Okay. Fabulous. Well, I would say say if anyone has questions, so what I will do, so we have these handy dandy folders. Wait, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to, there we go. I'm like, where is it? So we have these handy folders. I'm happy to, I know that some of the HR staff received these at the conference that happened a couple of weeks ago. So what you may want to do is if you want some more information and want my contact information, I would go to your HR department and say, do you have that green folder from CCV? And they'll be able to track this down for you. If you can't find one, you can, my contact information is, you can email me or call me. My number is 654-0508 if you can't see that from there. So 654-0508. And my email is melissa.deblois, which is DEBLOIS @ccb.edu. You can also just check ccb.edu/prior learning, and that'll get to all of our resources as well. So you can track us down there too. But I'm happy to answer your questions. So if you're shy about asking questions in front of everybody, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm actually in the office the next 2 days, which never happens. So you can call me at the 654 number and actually get me live. Ooh, I just heard something. I don't know what that was. Great. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Great. I know. Did it shut off?